Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Scholastic Sitdown, episode 9, nearing the double digits already. Boy, my co-host Dylan Ward, how has time flied?
I know it's unbelievable. I can't believe we're one away from the double digits here. And it's been a lot of fun sitting down here every Monday. Mondays, not always the most fun day, but obviously the episodes come out on Tuesday, but it's been a nice way to spend my Monday just sitting here and talking sports with you.
Absolutely, and we have a good one on tap. We'll do the typical week recap. Then we're going to get to talk to Glenbrook North assistant coach Ben Stein, who is going to have some great things to say about his team going into the big rivalry game, the North-South game next week, and he'll also be able to tell us about maybe what's the secret formula to have won 9 of your last 10 SHL games, 11-2 total. The Spartans are red hot. So
Yeah,
we'll
they
talk
are.
to him. Then we'll look at the outside the SHL region. Then something new, we're going to list down the standings because now the teams are starting to play more and more games. It's starting to shape out, and you're starting to see the true standings and unfold in front of us. And then we're going to preview the week in which there's only 3 games, so that won't take too long. And then our question of the week and trivia. So without further ado, let's hop into a week of 14 games, 15 the week prior. So 29 games to cover in the last 2 weeks. It's got to be our record high.
Yeah.
But no games on Monday or Tuesday. We start on Wednesday, where Fenwick and Carmel kicked us off, and Carmel kicked Fenwick out of the rink. A 28 save shutout for Thomas Steiner as the Corsairs down the Friars 4-0.
Yeah, and this was a, important game for Carmel to have, not to say anything negative about Fenwick, but when you're a team like Carmel and you're towards the bottom of the SHL standings, you need to win against the teams that you should win because, odds are we've seen Carmel upset Loyola. Odds are you can't assume a victory. You could be confident or whatever, but it's hard to come into New Trier and Loyola and get those wins or GBN on a consistent basis. So for them to win 4-0, that was important, and now they have beaten Fenwick twice on the season. So that's 4 points right there as they try to maybe slip themselves over that playoff line.
And how about this? The other game on Wednesday, the Magic inside Alumni Memorial Fieldhouse continues to grow as the Lake Forest Scouts, who are number 7 in the SHL, welcome in the Loyola Gold Ramblers, and they beat them 5-2. That is now the Scouts' 7th win at home on the season. And Loyola, a little bit of a struggle on the road this season at 4-2-2.
Yeah, and it's something that we talked about verbatim last week. Or I should say, Lake Forest home record. You mentioned now seventh win. They're now 7-2-0 on home ice, which is pretty remarkable for this team. Their overall record being 7-11-1. All of their wins have come on home ice, and it's a great building. We've talked about it a little bit. Alumni Memorial Fieldhouse sort of has that arena feel that some of the other public rinks don't have, and it's always a good environment, whether they have some students in attendance or the parents. It's a smaller place, low ceiling. You can really hear the noise at an amplified level. So Lake Forest doing something right at home. Just keep doing what you're doing if you're the Lake Forest Scouts.
We would flip over to Thursday, where Glenbrook South traveled on the road to take on the Stevenson Patriots. This was the lone game of Thursday. It's all we needed for entertainment value. Dylan Ward on the call for a Blake Hoffer buzzer beater as the Titans would score with a second left. It would run to zeros as the puck got across the goal line, and the Titans grab this one in regulation over the Patriots 3-2.
Yeah, Luke, a game winner so late they didn't even drop the puck again. And this was just an incredible third period overall because first, Evan Bennell had a deflection for the Titans that was ruled a high stick after the official had pointed to the net to call a goal. They all came together and talked things over. And then about 30 seconds later, after the handshake line had already been gone through, they waved it off. And this was with about 5 minutes left, would have made it 2-1 for the Titans. So that was a bit controversial. The bench was not happy. And then on the following face-off, just a few seconds later, Dylan Noster for the Stevenson Patriots takes the lead 3-2 with 3.5 minutes to go. Then Aiden Weller for the Titans, just before the Titans were going to pull their goalie, scored to tie the game with 1:58 to go in the third period. And then, as you mentioned, like you probably saw on Instagram, Blake Hoffer with the game winner. The puck goes in the net with zero point 0.9 seconds left. An unreal third period back and forth game and an impressive night for both goaltenders, but the Titans come out on top in that one.
Yeah, well handled by the Titans on the road at Twin Rinks. The lone game on Thursday. Now Friday, also the lone game Friday, which is not typical in the SHL. Typically, you see one to three games on a Friday, but we
Well,
had
you
a
know you're
solo.
always guaranteed York at home.
Oh yes, this was the one we knew.
At
Good
least
old
if there's one game, it's that.
Yes, good old Friday night in Addison. The Dukes take care of things on home ice, and this is a statement win as they take down the St. Viator Lions 4-1, outshooting them by 15, 34-19 total, and Jack Brown stops 18 out of 19 in net. Big win for the Dukes in Addison.
Yeah, Luke, and it was the first of three huge games this weekend for the Dukes, and we'll get to that as we roll along. But last time these two teams met, it was 4-2 in favor of the Lions. As you said, Ben DeZillo scores a goal and an assist, and a critical win for the Dukes. It was their fifth win of the season at the time, as they've started to really climb these standings, as we'll take a look at in our later segment.
Off to Saturday, where it was the 5 game slate, the most you can play in the SHL in a single day. And boy, we were treated to some good ones. Starting off, the good old rivalry in New Trier and Loyola goes in favor of the Trevians. Garrett Chong with 2 tallies and overall outshooting the Ramblers 28-13 was New Trier, who takes this one on the road once again against the Ramblers 4-1 this time. No overtime needed this time around, Dylan.
Yeah, no overtime needed. A dominant performance by New Trier. Garrett Chong gets a pair of goals for the Trevians. And it's interesting because last time these two teams met, as we were saying, it went to overtime. It was a really close, tight game. But this one, New Trier kind of asserting their dominance a little bit more. And how about that? They win their first two against Loyola, both on the road, as you mentioned, Luke. And they have now clinched the season series over the Ramblers. Now they'll look for the season series sweep if they can find it in January in what will be a game of the week on the SHL network.
That will be exciting stuff come January. After New Trier Loyola, it was Glenbrook South taking on Fenwick GBS. Wins this one by 4, 5-1. Frank Surma dishing out apples all day. 3 assists for him. And the freshman Thomas Preston continuing to be sensational, stopping 24 out of 25.
Yeah, and I gotta tip my hat as well to Cole Alessi. That was a really impressive performance by both goaltenders, just as that Thursday night game was. How about I want to give a shout out to Mitchell Adams, who is playing in his third game with the varsity team with the Titans, and he was called up from varsity too with some injuries going on in Glenbrook South, and he scored a goal, a beautiful breakaway goal assisted by Benji Pajerski. So his first career goal with the top squad over there with Glenbrook South, and only his third game. So mad props to him, and it looks like he's probably going to be sticking around for a while on this varsity team with, some of the uncertainties with the Titans injuries. So looks like he's going to fit in and hopefully he gets himself that new helmet soon.
Yeah, seriously, I was just about to mention when I did the SHL game of the week with Anthony and you, and you're mentioning that he's new to the team. Honestly, you really weren't able to tell by his play style. The only thing that would make you say, "Hey, is he a call up?" is his helmet. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, great stuff from Mitchell Adams. Congratulations to him. And then also congratulations to the York Dukes winning another one this week, 5-2 over the Stevenson Patriots on the road. William Brown grabs a pair of goals. And that's now 2 days or 2 wins in 2 days for York up to this point.
Yeah, and a total of three straight victories if you go all the way back to York beating Carmel 5-2 last week. So the Dukes really heating up here. They lost to Stevenson earlier this season in what in the first week or two of the season was looked at some as a shock. But now it looks like these two teams match up pretty well against each other. York able to take this one and continue their winning streak, and well, there's more where that came from when we continue on in this recap.
And continuing on to another two games left on Saturday, one of them being the duel of goaltenders. Still three snuck by in total, but it's St. Viator at home and Mount Prospect winning this one 2-1 over Carmel Catholic. John Mayer, backup or considered 1B goalie for the St.
Right.
Viator Lions. Him and Brock have been incredible all season. Mayer stopping 37 out of 38 to get credited the win. And there's not many times as a goalie, you stop 47 out of 49 and you get credited a loss. But Gavin Stanley, although statistically on the bad side of things, incredible performance from both.
Yeah, and that's an incredible shot total for this game, Luke. And when you see that many shots, you expect maybe a 5-4 game, maybe even a 3-2, but 2-1 is definitely not what you're expecting. Ryan Loftus picking up the game winner in the third period, and St. Viator, uh, they've gotten red hot lately as well. They're on a little bit of a streak of their own, and we'll get to that. This is their first of three meetings against the Corsairs this season. They don't play them again until January the 18th, and then one more time on February 2nd. So a long way to go before these two teams match up again. But St. Viator taking obviously the close one there, and we'll see if some of those other meetings have as many shots.
Then we were down in Chi-Town. Lake Forest was looking like they were going to get their first road win of the season, up 2-0 through two periods. And St. Ignatius really turned on the Jets, finding three goals in the third period, two of them coming from Michael Holub. They snatched the 2 points out of the hands of the Scouts, and the Wolfpack come up victorious on this one, 3-2.
Yeah, and already the third and final meeting of the season between these two teams, it was the rubber match. St. Ignatius had won the first one 4-3 on home ice, then Lake Forest won the second one 5-4 on home ice. So the home team prevails in all three. As you mentioned, St. Ignatius with three unanswered goals in the third, down 2-0 to secure the comeback victory. As they're a team that's starting to put together some of these wins. So as we mentioned, we're going to look at the standings later on in this episode, really starting to shape up here as we get into, mid-November and coming up on the Thanksgiving break.
And we would move now to Sunday, another game helping their stature. They had to play the latest game on Saturday, turn around, play the earliest game on Sunday on the road at Carmel and Glacier Ice Arena, and they take care of things. 4-1 victory over Carmel Catholic, who had five chances to score on the power play, just couldn't find the back of the net in this one. And St. Ignatius on a quick turnaround, they grab another 2 points.
Yeah, 10th win of the season for the Wolfpack as Jackson Bossert with his first goal of the season ended up being the game winner in the second. And St. Ignatius was, they've really been an interesting team this year, kind of winning the ones you expect, losing the ones you expect, and then a little bit of crossover. Their record right now, 10-5-2, which is a good points percentage, but when you look at their win percentage, 10-7, they probably thought that maybe they'd be a little bit higher in that category, but still nothing to complain about if you're St. Ignatius. Just keep on getting those 2 points consistently, even if there's some nights where you fall, you get the OTL point, and you just keep going.
Glenbrook North. Game on Sunday on the road at American Heartland Ice Arena. How is this for win number 11 through 13 games? A 5-0 blank of the Ramblers, as now Loyola shockingly losing three straight. I mean, really, it only goes up from here for the Ramblers. I mean, I would expect them to bounce back come this week. So, well, they don't play this week, but they play the next week. But even the SHL showcase, I mean, we talk about how these teams have these highs and lows. I think we might be seeing the low of Loyola just considering how good they are on paper, and GBN taking the best of them while they can. 5-0 victory.
Yeah, another shutout for Michael Raderman. It's his league leading fourth shutout of the season. And of course, we're going to talk to Ben Stein a little bit later in this episode. Looking forward to hearing what he has to say about this. But Yeah, I mean GBN in my book is probably the number one team in the state right now, especially after what happened in New Trier later on in this Sunday, which we'll get to. But they have been absolutely rolling. Only have lost two games in the SHL this season, both of which were by two or fewer goals. They get the running clock on Loyola here. I mean, like you said, Loyola's got a good points percentage, but they have some OTL points. Their record now goes to just purely wins and losses, 9-7, which is a little bit unexpected at this point in the season. But I mean, Glenbrook North, you could be looking at a team that's gearing up to make a deep run when it comes to March.
Sure can do, especially with that decor they have that I'm sure Ben Stein is going to preach about in a couple of minutes. Three games left on the docket on Sunday. Stevenson beating Fenwick 3-1. Asher Ali stopping 36 out of 37. And although Fenwick lost, how about Giovanni Senna, special guest on episode
Yeah.
2, I believe it was, scoring the lone goal for the Friars.
Yeah, and I was actually thinking about Giovanni Senna when I was calling the GBS versus Fenwick game every time I saw him out there on the ice. It's good to know some of these players' personalities, but Um, yeah, it's another one where Stevenson, three unanswered goals in the third period. They were down 1-0 going into that final period. And 36 stops is a lot of stops. And Asher Ali with a great performance against Glenbrook South earlier in the week and, gets the win this time around. And his hard work is pays off there against the Fenwick Friars. Stevenson sort of climbing up those standings. When we look at the standings, it's going to be really interesting. Those bottom three, of course, only the bottom three teams miss the playoffs in the SHL, so it's going to be a dogfight down the stretch in the regular season.
York on the road at Lake Forest. Lake Forest looking to continue their hot streak at home, 7-2-0 headed into this game. But this one had to go to overtime, and it was Ethan Moore in extra time, striking for the Dukes 2-1 victory on Lake Forest's home ice. Jack Brown stopping 24 out of 25. And for a moment, the magic was taken out of the building for now, Dylan.
Yeah, and so yeah, they get the point. Obviously, it's not a regulation loss. Their record now 7-2-1. But how about the York Dukes? This is their fourth consecutive win, Luke. They're now up to 7-9-3 on the season. When earlier on it looked like they were down and out. We talked about them getting their first win of the season over New Trier Green not too long ago, and a big, big win for them to cap off three games in 3 nights. How about this, Luke? This was the first overtime game in the SHL since October 26th, which was 22 days and 41 games ago. So
Wow.
just something kind of interesting of note there, as it seemed like early on in the season, just about every game was going to overtime, but teams are getting it done in regulation these days in the SHL. So that being the first overtime game in a while, we'll see if we get any more down the stretch.
And real quick about the Dukes, that's now four straight for York. And with this game, they were actually able to jump ahead of Lake Forest in the standings. They were neck and neck. And with York getting the extra point, they're now 1 point ahead. So we'll dive into that a little bit later. Last game to recap, a bizarre one, an unexpected one. St. Viator at home once again, winning again, but against the number one team in the state as of the recent My Hockey rankings, where New Trier led 1-0 through two periods, and St. Viator just really found the hot hand in the third period. Four goals in the third to win this one 4-1. New Trier up through the second period, up until this point, had a record of 10-0. They're now 10-1 because of the Lions.
You mean when they have the lead going into the
Lead
third
going
period?
into the third, they were
Wow.
10-0.
That's a great stat, Luke. That's excellent. And St. Viator, I mean, just four unanswered goals, as you said. We talk about the goaltenders that they have. This time it was Brock Harrer, and that he makes 42 saves on 43 Trevian shots. As St. Viator sort of gaining some traction now, they're now up to 9-4-1, really cementing themselves as one of the power teams in the SHL. And this win over New Trier Green really seals the deal for them. I mean, We'll see. They were just in the state championship not too long ago in 2022. As this is another team that could be gearing up for a deep run.
Absolutely agree. Another team that is potentially built for a good run, Glenbrook North. We get the chance to talk to their assistant coach, Ben Stein. Now we'll get to try to dive into the secrets of the GBN culture and figure out what is going on, what trickery is going on with the
Yep.
Spartans 11 and 2 through 13 games. You'll get to hear it all now from Ben Stein. And today's week 9 special guest, Ben Stein, assistant coach of the Glenbrook North Spartans, who are on a tear right now in the Scholastic Hockey League, joined alongside me and Dylan today. Coach Ben, how are we doing?
Doing great. Appreciate y'all having me on. You guys have done some awesome stuff. I've listened to every episode, so definitely an honor to be on here. So I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Coach. Well, just want to talk about how this team has been in general. GBN has won 9 of their last 10 SHL games. What has been clicking within the team that you've been seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it starts on the back end. I got Raderman in net. Obviously, kid is locked in. He's an absolute stud. He was great for us last year. Our defense is one of the best decors in the state. And then our offense, their back pressure and their ability in the defensive zone. So it really starts from the back end. That's really our philosophy is, take care of the defensive side and move the way up to the offensive side. So yeah, definitely starts with the back end, but when you win that many games in a row or, go on a heater, everyone's confident. So really just the belief in our systems, the belief in the players and the coaches, it's really all just clicking right now.
So you've been part of the Glenbrook North organization for a long time, of course, first as a player years ago, and now you've been behind the bench for several years. Just kind of wanted to get a rundown of your history being involved with Glenbrook North and how it's brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, being a Northbrook boy, my dad, took me to all the GBN games growing up. And then finally, when I got to high school, I played a year at JV, 2 years of varsity, was assistant captain my senior year. Went off to college, still kind of kept track of how GBN was doing, and then came back and started coaching. Thankful to Evan Pulikitis for giving me the opportunity. This will be my 7th season. So just to be able to be part of the program that gave me so much and just gave me so many incredible memories keeps giving me so many incredible memories. It's the dream. I tell everyone I'm living the dream. Being able to coach for GBN is something I've always wanted to do. So being able to do that every day and be on the bench with Evan and Paul is an honor every time I get to step on that bench. So
You're talking about memories. Well, a memorable game every year is coming up. This is the last time we'll be talking to you until it happens. Do you have any specific favorite memories of coaching or playing in the North-South game?
yeah, I mean it's come a long way from the old Glenview Ice Center to obviously Wilmette now, but just every game is absolutely electric. At the old Glenview Ice Center, the locker rooms used to be under the stands, so like you're trying to get locked in for a game, and the locker room's just shaking. So it's pretty wild. But yeah, I mean a couple amazing memories. Obviously last year, down 4-1 going into the third, looking like we were dead in the water and completing that comeback. Ryan Sandler, shootout winner, was remarkable. And then a couple years ago, Braden Roy overtime winner. Those are probably, my top two. Can't forget.
All right, well, you talked about the back end, being such an important part. Well, you're not kidding. You guys have won 3 in a row in the SHL, and all 3 of those games being shutouts, including your last game, maybe the most impressive, a 5-0 win over Loyola Gold. I'm not sure what it is, but in my time covering the SHL, you guys always seem to match up well against Loyola Gold, but 5-0 is quite a statement game. Just kind of walk me through what that was like.
Yeah, so honestly, the first 5, 6 minutes, it was all Loyola. They were in our zone. They were humming the puck around. We really couldn't get the puck out. Once we settled down, I mean, we just took over. It's just so nice to have a kid like Raderman in that. It just gives everybody so much confidence. Like if you make a mistake, if they get a breakaway 2-on-1, he's more than likely going to stop it. So once we settle down, play our systems, got to give a shout out to Coach Evan. He comes into every single game with a different game plan. He knows what the other team's going to do, or he thinks he knows what they're going to do. And as long as we follow our system, we're very, very confident, that we can beat them. And his in-game adjustments are second to none. So yeah, I mean, having a great goalie, having a great D gives our forwards so much confidence, just to be able to do what they can do in the offensive zone, and they'll handle it, on the back end. So yeah, incredible game. 5-0 is a pretty good score. I was confident going in. I wasn't that confident that we were going to win 5-0, but definitely a great boost, especially going into the weekend for the SHL showcase. And then, of course, week from Wednesday, we got South. So,
Well, you guys are the most disciplined team in the league at 74 penalty minutes, a perfect penalty kill, the only perfect team left to have a 100% PK. What does that tell you about the discipline in the organization of GBN?
it comes from the top. It comes from Evan and Paul. Especially for a team like this year, that sometimes lacks scoring, it would just be silly to take penalties. So we always, tell our team, like, listen, keep the BS away. Like, if someone's going to slash you, hit you, whatever it may be, just let it be. We'll take the power play. We're confident in our power play, so let's not give them any extra chances to get some goals.
All right, circling back to the North-South game again, it's such a great tradition. But one thing that, of course, the GBN head coach Evan Polakidis and Jim Philbin, the Glenbrook South head coach, try to make happen is they try to have it be the first meeting of the season between those two teams, and it has been for most of the time. It always is the first SHL meeting. But one thing interesting this season is you actually played Glenbrook South in the preseason invitational. It was a tight, low scoring game that ultimately was decided in a shootout. How does your preparation for Thanksgiving Eve change knowing you've actually seen this Glenbrook South team on the ice before in real competition?
Yeah, I think it definitely helps just to kind of see their tendencies. I mean, we know the Philbins so well. Like I say it all the time, like with that fierce rivalry, it's just funny because all of our coaches are so close with the Philbins. I talk to Jimmy Jr. on a weekly basis. So we know what they're going to do. But yeah, I think it helps. Obviously, South was missing a pretty important piece in Blake Hoffer, in that game. So, but we know what he can do. And yeah, so I mean, obviously they have a good goalie too, especially for being a freshman. That kid's very impressive. So I think it definitely helps. Obviously, confidence-wise, it was the start of the season. Of course, we took the loss, but we still feel very good going into that game.
Kind of off topic, but you're a former Indiana Hoosier. How about the Indiana football team this year?
Coach Kurt Signetti, I trust, baby. The Hoosiers are on an absolute roll. Um, And yeah, we'll see going into Ohio State this weekend. It'll be a good test. I think if they get the win, they could be ranked number one in the country. We'll see. But yeah, when I was at school, I think I went to like 2 or 3 games and we were awful. So just to be able to actually care about Saturdays now is a pretty special feeling.
All right, last one coming from me. I don't know about you, Luke, but talk about that three-game winning streak you guys are on right now. The first game of that streak was the 1-0 victory over the Lake Forest Scouts, and it happened to be your head coach Evan Polakidis' 600th career win. I saw some of the banners that were made. I think that was a really nice touch from the team. You've talked about him a little bit already, but what can you say about Evan Polakidis? I mean, he's been with the North organization for a long time, and the president of the SHL, very involved, not just with his own team, but with the league in general. You've seen him behind the scenes. What can you say about him, and what's led to his success?
You're gonna make me get all emotional over here. So just to give a little bit of a backstory, not to be like a downer, but so Evan and my dad were best friends growing up. They went from every grade together from kindergarten through college, and then they opened a business together. So Evan's been a part of my life since I was born. About 5 years ago, we lost my dad to brain cancer, and Evan is the father figure in my life. I talk to him every second of the day. Obviously, get to see him every single day. One of the most incredible humans I've ever met. Just what he does on the ice, off the ice, the SHL, AHL, and then being like a part of A-High. He just wants the kids to have such an unbelievable experience. I don't think a lot of people realize that. He might be like a very outspoken, loud dude, but he's like the funniest, nicest guy you'll ever meet. All the kids love him. So what he's done for the SHL is just so remarkable. Being able, these kids being able to go off to college and then years down the road and go back and watch a game from 10 years ago is just so special. And, if I had that growing up, I watch a little bit of film of whatever Joel was able to get for us back in my day. But yeah, just speaking on the SHL, it's just absolutely incredible. Just going to battle every single night against a good team. When I was playing, we were playing in Metro North, and no disrespect to that league or any of those leagues, but we were playing some teams that we knew we were going to blow out that night. So just being able to have unbelievable competition every night, play in front of a lot of fans, get it on video if it's a game of the week. It's absolutely remarkable stuff. 100% one of pound for pound, one of the best leagues in the nation, no doubt. But just kind of sum things up, yeah, Evan is a one of one guy, unbelievable dude, and I thank him for so much of honestly me becoming the man I am today. So
Wow.
That
Definitely wasn't expecting an answer like that, but that is unbelievable. That's awesome.
that's touching, Coach. I think we're gonna end it on that note. So, no games this week for you guys. So some time to get to practice, rest things up for the big game next week. We wish you the best of luck in that, Coach Ben Stein. Thank you so much for joining us on episode 9 of the Scholastic Sit Down. Any last words?
go North, baby. Roll 10.
Love it. All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all. Take care.
Of course. Big thank you to GBN assistant coach Ben Stein for joining us. Great conversation, great story at the end about Evan Poulikitis, who has clearly touched a lot of people within the SHL community, just emotionally. And it's a real tearjerker that Ben talks about at the end, Dylan. I mean, that's some awesome stuff. Goes to show how much of a role model that Poulikitis is.
Yeah, and just a great kind of face of the league. He's been, the president of the SHL, not just the GBN head coach for a while now. And, it really is all about the community for him, all about the kids. And, it's great to have him kind of as our boss with the SHL network and as the GBN head coach. And it's great to see his team doing well, obviously.
We'll look outside the SHL now. 3 leagues we like to highlight outside of this one. We'll start in the North Central, where a lot happened and history happened. Talk about the first high school hockey broadcast ever on Marquee Sports Network. It was New Trier Blue and Chicago North at the All-State Arena. And New Trier Blue, after a big week, jumps to number 2 in the standings, primarily in part to a 5-1 win inside the rink of the Chicago Wolves. Big win for them. The top 6 in the standings within 4 points. In order, it's BGHW, New Trier, Prep, Chicago North, Deerfield, and then Notre Dame. In the CCHL, Bennett beats St. Ignatius again. They now take the season series against the Wolfpack shockingly, as the Red Wings really looking to be the non-SHL favorite for the Red State Championship right now. They have been on a tear. They moved to 9-0, 2 power play goals a game on average with 18 total over 9 games. And second place, nonetheless, up for grabs. Fenwick is in second as of right now with 17 points. St. Ignatius and Providence Catholic are tied for third with 16 points. And then Bennett, of course, at the top with 26 points. So incredible stuff from the Red Wings in the red division of the CCHL. Over to the IHSHL West. We have a new number 1. We've been talking about Plainfield for a long time, but Maine has slowly crept their way up to the top at an 11-2-1 record. They beat number 2 Glenbard last week 7-1. A huge win for them. And another team to highlight that we really haven't talked about a lot in the West is Lincoln Way, a team that has really improved this year. They're at a 9-5 record, the number 5 spot after a little bit of an off year last year, but then making the state semifinals in the combined division the year prior. And then number 2 is Glenbard, number 3 is Plainfield, and the defending state champion Warriors are at number 4. So that is your look at the outside the SHL regions. Seems to be a lot of parity in every division. And now we will hop back into the SHL for for our standings. New thing this week, we're going to look at the standings. Every team has played at least 12 games, giving us a good comparison within the standings. Not that everybody's played an even amount of games, but A lot of parity, a lot of games played. This is going to be fun to overlook, Dylan.
Yeah, and kind of a new segment that we're going to bring in here on the Scholastic Sit Down. And yeah, the only reason we hadn't done it before is because, early season, just due to scheduling, lots of uneven, games played total. It's not the clearest picture, but now, as you said, every team has played 12 games. We're starting to get into that, where you can look at the standings and really get a good idea of where teams are.
So, going from top to bottom, of course, 11 teams in the SHL. At the top currently, points wise, it is New Trier, 15 games played with a 12-3 record, 24 points, winning 3 of their last 5, but of course, losing their most recent one to the St. Viator Lions on Sunday. At number 2, it's GBN, 13 games played, an 11-2 record, with the best win percentage in the SHL at an 84.6%, winning 4 of their last 5. Just going to go down the line here and then we'll really break things down. At number 3, it's St. Ignatius, 17 games, a 10-5-2 record, 22 points, tied with GBN, but of course, this pardon's a 4-game advantage. And St. Ignatius, another team that's getting hot, also winning 4 of their last 5. Then Loyola falling down to number 4, 16 games, a 9-4-3 record, giving them 21 points. So they are just one win away from hopping back up into the top 2, losing their last 3. For St. Viator, winning 4 of their last 5. They're at 14 games played, a 9-4-1 record for 19 points. At number 6, it's York, 19 games played, a 7-9-3 record for 17 points. We mentioned earlier in the podcast about how they were able to now jump ahead of Lake Forest, considering their win in overtime on Sunday over the Scouts, getting that extra point since they were both tied with 15 points up until then. Lake Forest is right behind them, 20 games, a 7-11-2 record, all 7 of those wins coming from home ice. Behind Lake Forest is Glenbrook South, but with an 8-game advantage. So Glenbrook South, having played the least amount of games in the SHL, still a winning record at the number 8 spot, a 7-4-1 record with 15 points. You're going to want to watch out for them because as they slowly start to pick up their pace in games, they're going to start jumping these standings. In the bottom 3, the 3 teams that would currently not make the SHL playoffs if they started today, Stevenson is just outside of the brink by 2 points, winning their recent one, but still 15 games, a 6-8-1 record for 13 points. Carmel is at number 12, or sorry, number 10. Nobody can be number 12. But at number 10 with 15 games, 5 goals, 9 assists, 1 overtime loss for, did I just say 9 assists? 5 wins, 9 losses, 1 overtime loss, 11 points. And at rank 11, it is Fenwick, 18 games, a 4-14 record. No points from overtime, so 8 points on the season. And they have lost their last 5 straight. So now that we've gone over it all, Dylan, any thoughts you want to really pinpoint from the standings?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to highlight the York Dukes. Currently sitting in sixth place, as you mentioned. For a long time, they were in that bottom 3. They were stuck at 3 wins for a while. Just kind of having a hard time getting those 2 points. They were in a lot of close games, but now with that 4-game winning streak that they've put together, they've hopped all the way into sixth place, and they do have one of the higher games played totals in the league with 19, just under Lake Forest, who has the most at 20. But it's going to be really interesting to see how far they can keep climbing and how far they can keep their hot streak going. Also looking kind of at the bottom, you have Lake Forest uh, just in that seventh place, but like you said, they have 8 more games played than Glenbrook South, who sits in eighth. And at 16 points, Stevenson with 13, Carmel with 11. Once these teams really start to play each other, it's going to be interesting to see who can clinch that final playoff spot in the SHL. And like you said, this league, there's 8 teams out of 11 that make the playoffs, which is a lot, but there are 3 that don't make it. So it's going to be interesting to see who those are.
We'll keep you guys posted with the standings as time goes on. Of course, that is going to be a new segment of every episode. And now back to a traditional one, the next week preview. There's not a lot of hockey in league play next week, three SHL games. But over the weekend, there's the SHL showcase where teams from outside the state come to take on SHL teams. It is a really cool new thing that we talked to Tim Benz about a couple of episodes ago. So make sure to tune into that one with special guest Tim Benz. He really dives deep into the detail of it, how it all works. Nice talk with him. And this will be the second year that it goes on.
Yes.
So that takes away a lot of league play. So for this week, we got three games. Starting on Tuesday, it's Lake Forest on the road for an 8:30 p.m. game at Glacier Ice Arena versus Carmel. Lake Forest still seeking their first road win. They came so close last Saturday, having a 2-0 lead on the Wolfpack, ended up having the Wolfpack come back in the third period to win that one. Let's see if the Scouts get their first road win in this one, Dylan.
Yeah, it would be an opportune time for them. They beat Carmel 3-2 earlier this season, but as you mentioned, Luke, that was at the Alumni Memorial Fieldhouse. So Carmel, with only three games, they have two of them. They play Tuesday and Thursday night, so both at home. So they're going to look for kind of a hot week while some other teams are idle to maybe hop themselves into a higher position in the standings. So both teams are going to be playing their A game. Is That'll be already Lake Forest's 21st game played in the SHL.
Yep, and Lake Forest already playing Carmel 1, speeding them on home ice 3-2 on October 27th. Then Thursday, like you mentioned, we're back at Glacier, another 8:30 slot where the Corsairs host a tougher opponent in a win percentage factor in the Glenbrook South Titans. GBS won the last one in a high scoring bout, 10 total goals, 6-4 victory. And GBS looking to keep their dominant record against teams below 500, in which they are currently 6-2.
Yeah, and then it'll not only be the second meeting of the season between these two teams, but the second meeting in a matter of weeks at Glacier Ice Arena. So, the Glenbrook South Titans, it's a late start for them, and they've got a little bit of ways to travel to Vernon Hills for this one. But we'll see. They're on a hot streak. They, like you said, they take care of the teams that they should be on paper. So they'll look to keep that record intact and grab themselves a win before the showcase starts.
And we'll fast forward another 2 days to the last game in league play of the week. These are two of the teams that are not participating in the SHL showcase due to them already having such a heavy game schedule playing in the CCHL and SHL. This is a double jeopardy game, as we love to talk about when these two teams play, as Fenwick travels down to Fifth Third Arena down in Chicago, 7:40 p.m. on a Saturday night. That place is going to be bumping as the Friars take on the rival St. Ignatius Wolfpack. Wolfpack won the first one 2-1, and this is a huge game in the CCHL standings where Fenwick currently leads by 1 point.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, double jeopardy counts for both leagues. So even though those two teams might not be participating in the SHL showcase, they will be participating in hockey this weekend. And it's always a good rivalry. These teams as a rivalry dates back way before they entered the SHL. Talking about the CCHL. And it was a close game last time. The game winner came with 5 minutes left in the third by St. Ignatius. So Fenwick will be looking to even up that season series there.
So that is our look at the week preview. Three games, not too busy when it comes to SHL, but of course, this weekend, get out to the SHL showcase at Mount Prospect Ice Arena, also known as the Nicholas Sportsplex. There's going to be nonstop action going on there all weekend. So make sure to
Yeah, and
catch your teams in action.
I just want to point out to everyone at home who wants to follow the SHL showcase, just a reminder, it's not a tournament. It's just four games for each team. They're not really exhibitions either, but there's no champion that's going to come out of this. It's just going to be, for opportunity for all the SHL teams except for St. Ignatius and Fenwick to not only get four games under their belt, but kind of all do it in the same venue. You might have some scouts from various, college teams, club teams, as Tim Benz was pointing out, maybe some junior teams as well. And it's gonna be a really great event. So if you go to the SHL website, and you go to the tabs. There's a tab for the showcase. All the games will be on game sheets, so you'll get to see live stats and live scores as the games progress. And it's just going to be hockey all day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all games at the Nicholas Sportsplex, which of course has 3 rinks within the facility, and it's going to be a lot of fun. If you're a fan of any SHL team besides Fenwick or St. Ignatius, you've got 4 games to look forward to at Mount Prospect Ice Arena this weekend.
Should be a fun weekend. We are now going to take a look at our question of the week. And this one, not too hockey serious. I just happened to be broadcasting a game for the Chicago Crush last week, and I was at Canlan Sports Romeoville because we're currently in the process of building a rink in Lockport, and that doesn't get finished until January. So we're just kind of hopping from rink to rink for home games, not playing too many of them in the year 2024. But besides the point, I walk into Canlan Romeoville's hockey store, and it's fairly big for an in-rink store, and also home of Neuqua Valley plays there, Plainfield plays there, a couple of teams in the West play there, and I know BioSteel stopped having production in the U.S. at some point, but I walked in here, and the first thing I saw was just this fridge filled of BioSteel, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have not had this in so long. So glad to grab a cherry lime and buy it and drink it before my call. Tasted great. I've missed it. And it got me thinking, what is my favorite sports drink? And what is all of yours is our question for this week. So personally, after getting that taste of BioSteel again and just how, I don't know, how like hockey associated it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of marketing within hockey players and stuff that kind of inspired me to drink it. And I really enjoyed it from the start. So BioSteel is my personal favorite sports drink. What do you say, Dylan?
Luke, I hate to steal your answer, but I'm gonna have to agree with you. It's something again, you don't see it on the shelves at, your Jewel Oscos or Walgreens or whatever, but when you find it, it is so good. And I was talking to Luca off camera before we started recording when he gave me this question, and I was telling him about how at North Shore Ice Arena, of course, home to New Trier Green in the SHL, in the lobby there's a BioSteel vending machine, and I always make sure to get some of that before I have a broadcast in there, before I just do any game for whatever in there. It's so good. It might be a little pricey, but the flavors are just so top tier. The Gatorades are good, but the flavors are kind of boring. You get a really good mix of all the different stuff with the BioSteel, and if you've never had one, go have one because it's just so delicious and so refreshing. And I wish they were just a little bit more accessible. I could go to a store and get myself a case or something, but
Seriously. Well, yeah, you speak of Gatorade, that'd probably be my easy second. Of
yeah.
course, some of the flavors are, but they do have a lot of flavors, and that's what I've kind of enjoyed because if they still had the three lemon, lime, fruit punch, orange, yeah, we get sick of it after a while. But it's got me trying out stuff like lime cucumber and all that stuff. And honestly, it wasn't bad. People hate on lime cucumber, but we'll get to that for
Cucumber is
another
always
time.
refreshing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So last week's trivia question, Dylan, if you would like to repeat it, we have an answer that I will announce.
Yeah, the trivia question last week was which of the current SHL teams were part of the league's original lineup of teams back in the inaugural season of 2012-2013. And there were 6. It just so happened to be 6. So I kind of phrased the question as who are the original 6 of the SHL that are still standing today?
And Dana Loken 7716 4 days ago says, let's knock this out early. I'm going with my original 6 of GBN, GBS, Loyola, Stevenson, St. Viator, and those other guys. Oh yeah, New Trier. Love it. And then at the end, he says, congrats, Coach Evan. So awesome stuff from Dan Alokan, even giving some props to Coach Evan on his 600th win that he achieved last week. And, or sorry, 2 weeks ago. And now this week's trivia question. This is based off the SHL showcase that is about to start in its second year this weekend. The question is, which team from last year's SHL showcase was the farthest away in miles? You don't have to name the exact number of miles, but find the team that participated in the SHL showcase that came from the farthest distance away. This one's going to be a little bit tougher. We'll see. We'll see if anybody can get it. I expect you to, Daniluk, and you've been on fire. So
Well, you know what? I was just about to call out Dana Luckin because, and those other guys, I was about to say, what the heck is that? We got to avoid this answer, but no, they came through with the, oh yeah, new Trier. So yeah, it is a valid answer. So yeah, I expect nothing less than this next trivia question to be answered by the same person.
absolutely. And for week 9, we have officially finished the episode of the Scholastic Sit Down. It has been a fun one. Great talk with Ben Stein, GVN assistant coach. Just overall, happy to talk SHL hockey as always. Just a reminder, of course, we are still looking for sponsors if you're willing to lend someone forward or find find someone for us.
You're at here, right over here. Why
But
not?
yeah, no, if you know anybody who's willing to get their name out there, we'd love to help them. So just let us know. But for episode 9, for my partner Dylan Ward, this has been Luke Jorden talking Scholastic hockey happily for yet another week. We'll see you next week for
Well, one more
episode.
thing, Luke. One more thing before we go. There's something in the works for next week's episode to have something, live and that you can actually tune into before a particular game. So we're not gonna dive too deep into the details, but just keep that in mind that your episode next week's likely not going to come on Tuesday, but it will come on Wednesday. Be sure to follow the SHL website, SHL on social media, primarily the Instagram for all the details you will need about tuning into next week's episode of the Scholastic Sit Down.
That's going to be exciting, Dylan. I'm fired up for it. So we'll see you then for episode number 10. Take care, guys.